This is my dog, Blue. He's a mix between a golden retriever and a poodle. He was born in Los Angeles and is turning 3 in October. And later on tonight, I'm going to eat him. I'm going to hang him by his legs, slit his throat, skin him, cut some steaks from him, and put him on the barbecue. This is what farmers do to millions of animals around the world every single day. So why is my dog any different? Chickens, they feel pain, just like my dog. Cows, they feel affection, just like my dog. And sheep, they nurse their young, just like my dog. So my question to you is, what gives us the right to treat one group of animals any different to another? And I'm going to talk to you about how I became vegan to answer this question. Last summer, my grandfather took my brother and I to a dairy farm in South Dakota. Advertising had led me to believe green fields full of happy cows, and by some miraculous process, the happy cow turning into a delicious steak. My grandfather believed this as well. He believed that these cows were indeed happy, that they were well treated, treated humanely, and even respected. But what I saw that day changed my life forever. We arrived to a massive field with thousands of cows in, and I immediately went to ask my grandfather, how do they get all the milk from all these cows in such a short time? He went on to show me this: a turntable with about 30 cows. Each of these cows had a device attached to their udder, sucking the milk from them. When we went on to leave, we walked through the holding pens for all the cows. And when I approached some, they jumped back in horror. Cows don't behave like this. Cows in an open field would come up to you and say hi, as they are quite curious. But these ones were different. These ones had learned somewhere from someone to be afraid. I want to talk to you about eggs. Every day in the United States, 1 million baby chickens are born, chicks. Half of them are male. Now, the egg and poultry industry deems these males as useless, as they cannot lay eggs, which is why they slaughter them in ways unimaginable. They boil them alive. They electrocute them. They throw them in grinders alive. And they even drown them, a process which takes 30 minutes of suffering. Every year, worldwide, 9 billion chickens are killed, according to the United States Department of Agriculture. That's 250 chickens per second. Now, the average life for a chicken on a poultry farm is 42 days. And during that time, they consume the same amount of wheat and grain used to produce 4 loaves of bread. The United Nations states that there are 19 billion chickens in the world at any given moment. 76 billion loaves of bread. The United Nations also states that 3.5 billion people in the world are below the poverty line. So another question I have for you is, what if we gave all this wheat and grain fed to chickens to these people underneath this poverty line? I want to talk to you about the earth. The United Nations also states that 26% of terrestrial land is used for animal grazing. Add an additional 10% for food meant by human consumption, and that's a third of the world's total livable space just for food. Now, as the world population grows, we need to farm more animals to keep up with this demand. So what we do is we expand. This is a series of pictures from the Amazon rainforest, ranging from the dates 2000 to 2008. Now, the dark green areas on these pictures are the Amazon rainforest. The brown areas are cattle ranching. Now, as I said before, the world population is growing. Because of this, we need to farm more animals, as I said. But how do these animals get fed? Farmers have to grow tons and tons of food just to keep up with this demand, which is why they use agricultural accelerants, fertilizers. These fertilizers are rich in nitrogen. Now, when these fertilizers have done their job for the crop, they come down streams and into the ocean. This creates a dead zone. A dead zone is where all the nitrogen and fertilizer kills off all the algae needed for a marine biological ecosystem. These red and green areas you see right there, that's a dead zone. There is no life there, just sand and ocean water. This is a picture from the Gulf of Mexico. So not only does this contribute to the destruction of our world, our constant addiction to animal-related foods are destroying the oceans in which millions of people depend on for food. So what? 8 months ago, I adopted a vegan lifestyle. But first, before I go on any further, let me tell you what being a vegan means. Being a vegan means that you don't support any industry that harms animals in any way. That means I don't eat eggs, cheese, milk, or meat. I don't drink milk. I don't wear any animal-related fabrics, so no leather, no fur, no wool. And I don't buy any products which have been experimented on animals. A couple people you may know who are vegan can include Miley Cyrus, Liam Hemsworth, Jessica Chastain, and even the Pope. Now, those are other people. Let me tell you about my experience while being a vegan. The first week, I got really sick. I was not prepared. Before I adopted a vegan lifestyle, I ate meat every single day. Now, my body was not used to depriving myself of animal-related fats and proteins. So I felt my concentration decreasing during school, and I felt weaker during the day. But instead of eating meat again, I went along the route of vegetarianism. I started eating eggs and cheese again, and I felt much better as a result of this. But it wasn't until recently that I decided to go back to being a vegan. Now, after 4 months, I'm better than I ever was before. I feel stronger. I have a higher concentration in school. You can see this in my grades. And I feel cleaner as a whole. So, the next time you sit down in front of a burger and fries or a Sunday roast at home, I want you to ask yourself, what happened to the dead animal in front of me? Where did it come from? And how was it treated before its life ended? I want you to ask yourself, where did the food come from that fed this animal? And where did the chemicals come from? And where are they now? And most importantly, I want you to ask yourself how you feel afterwards. It may be that veganism is right for you. It may be that it's wrong for you. But it may be that you want to experiment. You want to try and decrease the amount of animal-related products that you depend on. So maybe instead of drinking cow's milk, you start to drink plant alternatives. Instead of buying leather and fur, maybe you buy polyester and nylon. And because of this, you've made a change that lets fewer animals die, which decreases the amount of damage to the environment, and it's guaranteed to make you feel better, physically and mentally, which, for our generation, is incredibly important, as it is for my dog. Thank you.